So, good day, class. Dito muna tayo sa phase 6 ng Human Rights Education. So, yeah, let's go. Charot. Our course outline is first, explain natin ang fundamental concept and principle ng human rights. I-compare natin ang freedoms sa human rights. Also, the state, the government, the police power, and human rights. State and non-state actors on human rights. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Human Rights Legal Framework in the Philippines, Bill of Rights and Constitutional Rights, Statutory Rights, the UN International Convention on Rights of Prisoners of War in Conflict Areas, and Human Rights and Municipal Courts of Law and International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice. So, let's go. Let's go first with the background. It talks about education on the status of human rights. Actually, education play a crucial role in human rights, diba? Kasi it is integral to and enhances human dignity through its fruits of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Kasi how would you defend your right if in the first place hindi mo nga naman alam, diba? So you are most likely to be protected kapag alam mo yung batas na nagpoprotekta ng karapatan mo. So, yeah, we have to educate ourselves. So, let's go. The teaching of human rights in the Philippine school ay mandato yan sa Article 2 ng 1987 Constitution, which states that all educational institutions shall inculcate patriotism, nationalism, and foster love in humanity and respect for human rights. So, yeah, aside that it's been mandated in the Article 2 of 1987 Constitution, kasama siya sa course curriculum natin, 'di ba? Bilang criminology. Bilang isang criminologist, kailangan alam natin ang mga human rights. Kasi 'di ba, we are the one who's going to enforce the law, and yet paano natin it will become effective for us na ma-enforce ang batas at the same time na hindi natin nalalabag ang karapatan ng mga tao. So yeah, it's part of our criminal law and jurisprudence. Kaya mahalaga tong subject natin. The United Nations General Assembly or yung UNGA proclaimed the commencement of World Program for Human Rights Education on January 1, 2005, the following UN decade for the human rights education. Yes, talagang marami ng stands na talagang nire-raise para talaga ay aralin natin ang human rights. Not just here in local but international. That's why part of the curriculum of human rights education, aralin din natin yung mga international law, di ba? So, yeah. And yeah, we have also the body, the commission. It's the pursuant of the Commission of Human Rights or CHR. The Philippines issued resolution number 2007 to 2008 028 pala, and 2007 to 029 na in-urge ang ang CHED and law school in the Philippines to offer human rights in the Philippine law curriculum. Kaya diba, it's one of the subject in law school and also in CHED. Pero specifically yung crime nga, 'di ba? Kasi we're gonna be part of the criminal justice system. Ang sistema na nagbibigay ng hustisya. So that kailangan alam natin ang human rights. Naku, common denominator. So without a doubt, no? The most effective na tools laban sa mga pang-abuso sa karapatan natin ay ang edukasyon. Diba? Kailangan alam natin yan. And it makes a person less likely to commit human rights violation kapag alam na syempre, pag alam mo ang karapatan ng tao, hindi ka ganun magkukumit or mag-engage sa human rights violation, at ikaw naman ay hindi ka rin ganun na magiging biktima dahil alam mo yung karapatan mo. So, sa sinabi ng International Journal on Human Rights Education, Human Rights, ang education ay takes on the status of human right because no, ito ay mahalaga na nag-enhance ng dignity natin bilang tao because it is the fruits of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So that one of the fundamental right din natin is to have a proper education, to have a basic education. Kaya kayo na privileged enough na makapunta o makatungtong sa higher education, sa college, sana naman ay huwag nyo sasayangin. 'Di ba? Kasi fortunate enough kayo eh, 'di ba? Hindi naman lahat ng tao is that so fortunate na makapag-college. Kaya kayo, hindi nyo sinasayang. Nermon pa, no? So, yeah. And for those students na magiging police palang araw, law enforcer, sana hindi nyo rin kalimutan na ang gobyerno ay ang taong bayan. So, dapat sila ang ating pinagsisilbihan, hindi natin sila inaapi at pinapakitaan ng marahas at malalabag ang kanilang karapatan. So, their human rights is the most priority. So, ang human rights education ay naglalayo na ma-enhance ang ating kaalaman sa pag-unawa sa mga karapatan ng tao. To foster attitude and tolerance, respect, solidarity, and responsibility. And dinidevelop nito ang awareness natin kung how the human rights can be translated into social and political reality. And of course, to develop skills for protecting human rights. So, at the first thing at all, ano ba ang human rights? So, ang human rights ay ang mga karapatan na inherent na sa nature na kung wala ito, hindi ka mabubuhay bilang tao. Kaya nga human rights, 'di ba? So, ito yung mga basic na kapag wala to sa'yo, hindi ka matatawag na tao, hindi mo ma-enjoy yung pagiging tao. You don't have the faculties of being a human being. Grabe, no? Lalim. So, isa-isa natin. As for Sir Rene Sarmiento, human rights are the aggregate of privilege, claims, benefits, entitlements, and moral guarantees that pertain to man because of his humanity. Had the same, no? Chilean lawyer Jose Salaket wrote that ang human rights are regarded as a system of values or elements which are inherent to human dignity. As for WAYU 2011, ito ay nagde-define din as a legal and moral entitlement that have evolved as a basic for constructing how state power is used, in particular to limit its use against the rights of the citizen. Dami ng definition, ha? So that if you're going to ask what is human rights, then you have different sources and you can just make your own, 'di ba? As to the French philosopher Jean-Jacques Martin, if I'm not mistaken, that's the human person possessed the rights because of the very fact that it is a person. Siyempre, dahil nga may human rights siya, dahil nga tao siya, okay? A whole master of itself, of its acts, and which consequent is not merely a means to an end, but an end which must be treated as such. As for Pope John the 16th of Pacem in Terris, for 16, diba? Mabaka dyan. Show nga ka sa human numerals. 13. Ay, 23 ba? Yan, 23. Any human solely, if it is to be well ordered and productive, must lay down as a foundation these principles, namely that every human being is a person, and his nature is endowed with intelligence and full will. By virtue of this, he has the rights and duties following directly and simultaneously from this very nature. Pope John the 23, Pacem in Terris. As for ang idol ko, no, si Jose W. Diokno says that human rights lawyer and civil libertarian said on 1981 that no cause is more worthy than the cause of human rights, and they are what make a man human. Kasi pag hindi mo na binigyan ng karapatan ang isang tao, hindi na siya tao. Diba? Para na siyang gamit, makatulad ng nangyayari sa mga alipin na kinakalakal, diba? Hindi na tao yun. Kaya sa Bill of Rights din natin na walang sino man ang dapat na gawing alipin o ipambayad ang sariling serbisyo para sa utang. So, for the Commission of Human Rights, the term human rights refers the broadest sense, napakalawak nito, to those rights natural and inherent in nature necessary to life, liberty and dignity, and self-development, which cannot be denied on human being. Further, human rights is the supreme, inherent, inalienable rights to life, to dignity, and to self-development. It is essence of these rights that makes man human. So, maraming mabibigat na word doon, no? We're gonna tackle it as this presentation goes on. So, other advocates ng human rights. Let's go with Confucian. Sabi ni Confucian, "Thou shalt not to do what you do not want others do unto you." So, wag mong gagawin sa iba ang mga bagay na ayaw mo rin gawin sa'yo. As per Quran 5:2 state that whoso slays a soul not to retaliate for a soul stain, not for corruption, done in the land shall be as he has slain mankind altogether. As Quran 2:84 requires that ye shall not shed your brother's blood, nor disposes one another of for you for habitation. In the Amos 5:24 commands, let justice flow like a stream, and righteousness like water that never goes dry. On Isaiah 61:1-3 instructs us to bring the good news to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, and to announce release to captives. So, even though the earliest time as indicated in our Bible, talagang it was advocating by our prophets and among other personalities na maprotektahan ang human rights ng bawat isa. Matthew 26:35 reminds us that one who is blessed by God and one will inherit the kingdom if he or she who gives food to the hungry, drink to the thirsty, clothing to the naked, care to the ill, and visitation to those in prison. On the Luke 1:46 in Cantes of Mary, and it speak of the mighty one who has been dispersed the arrogant mind and heart, throw down the rulers from their thrones, but lifted up to the humble and filled with hunger with good things. In the Our Father, diba, na tinuro na dasal sa atin ni Jesus Christ, we are told about the Father of all who gives food, material, spiritual, bread, etc. to His children. So, according to source, what are the classification of human rights as to the source? We have these two. The natural or moral rights. These are the rights that God given, binigay ng Diyos, acknowledged morally good. And we have the legal rights. Sources to ng human rights. We have the constitutional rights and the statutory rights. Diba? From the word itself, constitution rights, yan yung binigay na guarantee sa atin ng Constitution. Diba? Yung the Bill of Rights, Article 3 of the Constitution, na I will already make a lecture video about that, and I keep on telling this to you in my class. And we have the statutory rights proclaimed by the legislative body. Yun yung mga RAs, di ba? Special laws, yung mga ginawa ng Congress, the legislative body. As according to the aspect of life, the classification pala tayo ng human rights ha, we have the 4, di ba? It was already been included in your book. Civil rights. Ito yung mga rights the law will enforce at the instance of private individuals for purpose of securing them to the enjoyment of the happiness. Civil rights guarantee people from abuse of the state of state agents in the exercise of the 3 inherent power: the police power, power of eminent domain, and power taxation. Wait. Ang haba, no? So, it talks about civil rights na ito yung mga karapatan na ini-enforce na isang private individual para ma-secure ang kanyang saya o kaligayahan at nagbibigay ng civil rights guarantee laban sa pang-aabuso ng gobyerno sa paggawa ng kapangyarihan ng gobyerno laban to sa police power, power of eminent domain, and the power taxation. That's why we have civil rights pang individual. So for the legal rights, we have two, di ba? We have constitutional rights and statutory rights, as above mentioned na to before, na guaranteed bill ng Constitution ang Bill of Rights, ang constitutional rights. Ang statutory, ito yung na-promulgate ng legislative body, which is the Congress. Civil and political rights are guaranteed against government abuse. Why is that? Bakit may abuso ng government, ma'am? Ano yun? So, yung karapatan na ilaban sa gobyerno, ganon? Let me clear it to you, class. Ang gobyerno ay makapangyarihan. Why? Bakit makapangyarihan ng gobyerno? They have the military powers. They have the armed forces of the Philippines. They have the police power. They have the taxation power. They can just ask you, mag-tax ka, magbayad ka dito. They have the power of eminent domain. Pwede lang kunin ng lote mo ng, di ba? Government is so powerful. So that, meron tayong civil and political rights para maprotektahan tayo laban sa kapangyarihan, sa lakas ng kapangyarihan ng gobyerno laban sa atin na pwede ring tayo ay mapahamak o masaktan, mahirapan. Kaya meron ang Bill of Rights para yung umbrella, para yung payong na pumoprotekta sa atin laban sa gobyerno. So yeah, for justifiable rights, ito yung immediately enforced once violated, called negative rights because the state is refrained from violating them. The economic, social, and cultural rights, isang word to kasi baka sama-sama to. Rights ng mga tao to self-determination, to pursue economic, social, and cultural development, and financial security, and ensure life dignity. It called positive rights. State expect to take effective measure to fulfill them, referred as a program rights, depends upon the resources of the political of the state. Yung karapatan mo magbenta, karapatan mo magnegosyo, karapatan mong exercise yung culture mo, di ba? Justifiable rights ay negative rights. Economic, social, and cultural rights ay positive rights. Pag negative rights, ito yung mga immediately enforced katulad ng gun ban, liquor ban, yan, na agad-agad enforceable. Curfew, yan yung mga negative rights. And this is the financial security, positive rights, yan, economic, social, and cultural rights. According to the derogability, classification pa rin tayo ng human rights, we have the non-derogable or the absolute rights, and we have the derogable or relative rights. Wait, ano? May ganito? Anong pinagkaiba nito, ma'am? Bakit naman? Pag sinabi nating non-derogable or absolute rights, ito yung mga karapatan na hindi pwedeng isuspende o tanggalin sa'yo o limitahan ka in emergency situation. O kahit na ang government ay magdeklara ng national security or in the public safety requires at MME. So that is absolute rights. Hindi yan pwedeng matanggal sa'yo o mas suspend sa'yo. Isipin na natin to. Hindi yan pwedeng tanggalin sa'yo kahit emergency pa. That is non-derogable or absolute rights. Pag sinabi natin derogable or relative rights, ito ay pwedeng isuspende o i-restricta o ilimitahan ka. Depende kapag mayroon ng emergency or depende sa circumstance para sa preservation ng social life. Okay? Non-derogable, hindi pwedeng isuspende kahit mag-emergency. Pag derogable is it could be suspended or restricted or depende sa sitwasyon. Tapos na tayo sa classification ng human rights, dumako na tayo dito sa kinds ng human rights. So, maraming kinds. Maraming uri. So, the rights of every person are so many among others. Compelling French jurist Karel Vasak in 1979, kinlassify niya ito sa 3 generation ng karapatan. We have the first generation, second generation, third generation. Na parang girls generation ba to? So, first generation, ito yung mga karapatan na civil at political rights. Pag second generation, ito yung economic, social, and cultural rights. And kapag third generation, ito yung mga solidarity rights or collective rights. Okay, ano ba yung mga generation na yan? Let's go with the first. The first generation of rights gradually evolved over century during the long development of democratic society. Ito ay nagsiserve na protection laban sa arbitrary or maling exercises ng police power. Alam naman natin ng police power, di ba? They can arrest or search to you in your houses, your papers, pwedeng arestuhin. And it's subject for corruption or subject na malpractice ng mga police. Kaya we have first generation rights. First, diba? The right to life, liberty, and security of persons. The rights against torture. The right of equal protection against any discrimination. Right against arbitrary arrest and detention. That's the first generation, take note. Another first generation is the right to unfair and fair and public hearing by the independent and impartial tribunal, no? Parang Bill of Rights lahat. Right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, no? Right to privacy, freedom and opinion expression, and etc. So, yun yung nasa Bill of Rights natin. We have to take note, first generation ng civil and political rights ay also known as the generation of liberty rights. So, nako. And the Philippines, no, the first generation can be found sa 1987 Constitution, particularly ang Bill of Rights, Article 3. So, may mga special laws din na ginawa doon under Bill of Rights para mas comprehensive or mas lumawak yung pagkakaintindi o yung expansion, di ba? Kaya nga sa Miranda Doctrine, may Mahinay Doctrine tayo kasi ine-expand. So, ganun din ang Bill of Rights. Una, Republic Act 7438, pinaka-biblia natin sa criminology, ang mga karapatan ng mga taong inaresto, dinitain at under ng custodial investigation. Second stop, we have Republic Act 8493 o ang Speedy Trial Act of 1998. Republic Act number 10350, Anti-Enforced Disappearance Act. Republic Act number 9745, penalize the act of torture. Republic Act number 9851, penalize the crime against international humanitarian law, etc. Republic Act 10368, the creation of Human Rights Victim Claims Board. Nako, ang haba ng first generation, so let's go with the second one. Ang second generation ay nag-start na ma-recognize sa mga tao when they realize that possession of first generation of liberty rights ay magiging walang value kapag walang enjoyment ng economic, social, and cultural rights. No, the experience of the third world countries in their struggle against colonialism and the influence of socialism and the encyclicals of the Pope, all contributing to the development of and appreciation of economic, social, and cultural rights. So, kaya may second generation kasi naisip nila, hindi naman natin ma-enjoy yan yung first generation kapag wala tayong economic and social and cultural rights. So, katulad ng iyong karapatan sa trabaho, 'di ba? How would you live like a human kung wala kang pera at wala kang trabaho? Hindi mo masisecure ang trabaho, bigla ka na nang tatanggalin, walang reason, 'di ba? Your right to social security. your right to form and join the trade unions, your right to education, your right to rest and leisure, your right to health, and the right to shelter, etc. So, yeah. And ang mga ito ay makikita natin sa 1987 Constitution pa rin, particularly under Article 12, ang National Economy and Patrimony. Ang Article 13, ang Social Justice and Human Rights. Ang Article 14, Education, Science and Technology, Arts, Culture, and Sports. May mga special laws din na ginawa under and for the pleasure of the second generation human rights. We have the Republic Act 6657 or the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law, Republic Act number 7279 or the Urban Development and Housing Act of 1992. We have Republic Act 828, the Social Security Act of 1992, Republic Act number 6938, the Cooperative Code, the Republic Act number 8435, Agriculture and Fisheries Modernization Act of 1997 rather. So we're done with first generation. Sa second generation, let's go with the third generation. So ang third generation ay intended na mabenepisyuhan ng mga individual o grupo ng mga tao when its realization will need global cooperation based on the international solidarity, and these are the examples of third generation rights. Ang yung karapatan sa kapayapaan, karapatan sa development, environmental rights, right to self-determination. Kaya nga 'di ba meron tayong writ of kalikasan, yung pagka nakita mo yung bahay nyo, yung kapitbahay nyo nag-aalaga ng aso, ay nag-aalaga ng baboy, and napakadiri ng pag-aalaga. Alam naman natin mabaho yan. And then marami na sa inyo nagkakasakit dahil sa amoy, you can file writ of kalikasan para mapatanggal yung baboyan nila. Diba? O kaya naman pabrika ng isda. Tapos, ang layo lang is mga nasa 100 meters mula sa bahay nyo, and buong baryo na kayo, nagkakasakit na kayo sa baho. Diba? You can file writ of kalikasan. O, nakita nyo yung pabrika o yung mall, tinatapunan ng kung ano-anong waste materials, yung ilog na kinabubuhay nyo. And then, that's third generation rights. Kasi ano pa yung aabutang ilog ng magiging anak nyo? Diba? At magiging anak na anak nyo kung tapon sila ng tapon, di ba? Ano pa yung kinabukasan para sa ikatlong henerasyon ng mga tao kung wala ng isda na kakainin nila dahil pinatay na nila? So, you can file writ of kalikasan for that. Right to self-determination, right to food, rights of women, rights of children, rights to humanitarian disaster relief. And the latest right now is the right to water. Oh my gosh. The third generation of rights is also known as the third generation of solidarity rights. Take note, class, ha? And these third generation rights, as may kita pa rin sa ating favorite na constitution, ang ating fundamental law of the land, the 1987 Constitution, particularly in Article 2, that is the Declaration of Principles and State Policies, and the Article 15, the family. So, there are also different and various special law na ginawa for the third generation rights, and these are the Republic Act 7192, Women in Development and Nation Building Act, Republic Act 8505, the Rape Victim Assistance and Protection Act of 1998, Republic Act number 6955, that declares unlawful and practice of matching Filipino women for marriage to foreign national on a mail order basis, Republic Act number 9710, an act providing for Magna Carta for women, the Republic Act number 7610, the act providing for the stronger deterrence and special protection against child abuse, etc. May bago din tayo, 'di ba, yung principal author ay si Risa Hontiveros, yung pag-prevent ng child marriage, kasi ginagawa yan in the remote areas, particularly in Mindanao, wherein pinapakasal yung mga minor de edad sa mga matatanda because it's part of their culture, 'di ba? So, thank you for that initiative of Senator Risa Hontiveros at saka sa pakikipaglaban niya for the rights of women and children. That's why bawal na yon. And Republic Act number 8749, the Philippine Clean Air Act of 1999, diba? Bawal yung mga tambutsyong sobrang pausok, bawal yung mga nagdumudumi ng hangin, kasi ano pa yung aabutan ng mga tao sa mga susunod na henerasyon kung madumi ng hangin, di ba? Republic Act 9003, the Ecological Waste Solid Waste Management Protection Act. Di ba yung pag-iiba-iba, pagsiseparate ng biodegradable wastes, yung mare-recycle sa non-biodegradable. Yes, di ba? And as per the law, hindi pwedeng kunin yung basura kapag hindi siya na-segregate. Republic Act number 9747 or the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act. Principles of human rights. The three principles of human rights are, we have the universality, the indivisibility, and the interdependence. So let's go first with universality. When we say universality, ito ay ibig sabihin nito na ang karapatan ay nabebelong to and or to the enjoyed of all human beings. Diba? Universal siya. Na walang distinction o pamimili sa kahit nanong uri, lahi, kulay, kasarian, pananalita, relihiyon, political at other opinion, national origin o social origin, yung ari-arian, saan ka pinanganak, at sa kahit na anumang bagay. No? Hindi ka ang karapatang pantao ay para sa lahat. Human rights belong to everyone. Kahit ano ka pa, kahit sino ka pa, dahil ikaw ay tao, ikaw ay may karapatan. That's universality. Ang universality ay also means that internationally recognized human rights are the basic core minimum to observe everywhere without regional differences. The human rights belong to everyone, everywhere by virtue of being human. No one, no group, no place in the world should be denied of enjoyment of human rights. No, so human rights has not been only enjoyed in the Philippines, but it's been should be enjoyed all over the globe. 'Di ba? Hindi pwedeng i-deprive ka ng iyong karapatan dahil ikaw ay galing sa ganito, as long as na tao ka, may karapatan kang pantao. Walang restriction at all. The two related principles of indivisibility and interdependence means that first generation of liberty rights and the second generation of equality rights are interrelated and are co-equal in importance. They form an indivisible whole, and only if these rights are guaranteed that an individual can live decent in dignity. The international community must treat human rights in equal manner, on the same footing, with the same emphasis. So, kasi pag wala kang karapatan, parang hindi decente yung pamumuhay mo diba? Parang hindi ka tao. At meron kasi tayong indivisible may mga karapatan kasi na hindi mo siya ma-enjoy kapag hindi mo rin makuha yung karapatan na iba. So there are interdependence or correlated. So we're gonna explain it, but ito lang yun, dahil tao siya, kung ano yung karapatang natatamasa niya, matatamasa mo din, even though dahil kayo ay parehong tao on the same footing with the same emphasis. Indivisibility, so from the word itself, no, not divisible, so hindi mahahati. Now, human rights are not being divided, not capable, hindi mahahati, hindi sila ma-denied, even with other rights have already been enjoyed. Hindi mo pwedeng i-deny kahit na meron na siyang karapatang na i-enjoy na iba. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, ay, na-enjoy, may karapatang ka ganito, gusto mo pa ganito. So, hindi ganon. So, human rights are indivisible. Hindi nahahati, hindi na-divide. Whether they are related to civil, cultural, economic, political, or social issues, human rights are inherent to the dignity of every human person. Consequently, lahat ng human rights have equal status and cannot be positioned in hierarchical order. Hindi pwedeng, eto mas mataas tong karapatan, mauuna to, ito sumunod. Naku, naging hagdan na. There are equal status. Lahat ng karapatan ng tao. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, ito dapat mauna to. Kasi pag hindi to, hindi mo to ma-enjoy. All of them have the same value. All of them should be enjoyed by human. deny that one right invariably impides the enjoyment of other right. Kasi hindi siya pwedeng i-divide Kasi pagbawa, tulad nito, how would you give the person the right to life kung wala naman siyang right to work? Paano siya magkakaroon ng right to life kung wala naman siyang right to food? Diba? They're all correlated. Thus, the right of the everyone to be an adequate standard of living cannot be compromised by the expense of other rights, such as the right to health or the right to education. Yan ba sabihin na, ay, maganda naman pa umuhay mo eh. Kailangan pa ba mag-aral? Like that. Hindi ganon. So, let's go in interdependence. From the word itself, it's the quality of being dependent to another. So, ang human rights are interdependent because the fulfillment of exercise of one ay hindi mafulfill kapag wala yung iba. They're interdependent with each other. All of the rights are equal and interdependent with each other. Hindi ma-enjoy yung isa pag walang isa. That's it, diba? Indivisible, hindi nahati. Interdependence, nagkakadependahan yung mga karapatan. Dahil lahat ng karapatan, political, civil man yan, social, cultural, economic, are equal in importance. At walang ma-enjoy dyan kapag wala yung ibang karapatan. They all apply equal and all of have the right to participate in decisions that affect their lives. They are upheld by the rule of law and strengthened throughout the legitimate claims for duty bearers to be accountable in international standards. So, interdependence still, the two principles of indivisibility and interdependence means that first generation of liberty rights and the second generation of the equal rights are interrelated. You cannot enjoy the first generation rights without the second generation. Take note. They form an indivisible whole, and only if these rights are guaranteed that an individual can live decent in dignity. The international community must treat human beings in equal manner on the same footing with the same emphasis. So, human rights are interdependent and the same is and interrelated. Kaya sila nakadepende sa isa't isa ang mga karapatan dahil sila ay magkaka-related lang. Each one contributes to the realization of human dignity. Dapat lahat yan, sabay-sabay, lahat yan na-enjoy. Through the satisfaction of his or her development, para masatisfy ang pagde-develop ng kanyang physical, psychological, at spiritual na pangangailangan. So, the fulfillment of one rights only depends wholly in a part upon the fulfillment of others. Okay, ha? So, interdependence pa rin, for instance, fulfillment of right to health may be depend in certain circumstances on the fulfillment to right development to education or to information. Diba? How would you exercise your right to health kapag wala kang right to development at wala kang right for education and information, diba? Information and education is one of the fundamental way for you to gain your knowledge, to take care of yourself and to take care of your health. Certain rights cannot be sacrificed in favor of other rights. Hindi pwedeng isakripisyo ang iba para mapaboran yung iba dahil magkakarelasyon nga sila at there must be taken or must be exercised ng sama-sama. And this makes you as a human being as a whole with your exercising of your whole human rights, all of the human rights. Sa experience ni Jose W. Ducno in handling human rights cases involving the marginalized and basic sectors, he confirms na validity of principles of indivisibility and interdependence of human rights. He said, sabi niya, quote unquote, as a lawyer for small farmers, bilang abogado ng mga maliliit, small time na magsasaka, mangingisda, workers, estudyante, at ng urban poor, many of whom has been detained, yung iba doon nakakulong, and most of whom has been threatened with detention, tinatakot, tabo nakakulong, and few of whom has been shot and wounded. May nabaril pa, may nasugatan ba? When they were peacefully exercising their rights of assembly. I have learned the painful lesson that we cannot enjoy civil and political rights unless we enjoy economic, culture, and social rights anymore. Ano yan? Then we can ensure our civil and political rights through a hungry man does not have much freedom of choice, but equally true when a well-fed man does have the freedom of choice, he cannot protect himself against going hungry. So yeah, 'di ba? Those farmers, people na nagwawelga sila in a manner of mapayapang pagwelga, and biglang huhulihin sila ng pulis at sasaktan at babarilin, 'di ba? Although you are exercising your right for peaceably assembly as indicated to your first generation rights, hindi mo naman siya fully ma-exercise dahil nga gutom ka, 'di ba? Kaya ka nga nagwelga kasi nga mababa yung kita ng mga magsasaka. Gutom ka. Kumakalaman sikmura mo. And that's your right to food, right to health. 'Di ba? Kaya hindi mo ma-enjoy ang ibang karapatan kung ikaw ay walang social and economic and cultural rights as your your second generation rights. Kaya all of those rights should be enjoyed. Characteristic naman tayo. Kanina classification, tas kinds, ngayon characteristic na tayo. Human rights are first, inherent, second, inalienable, universal. So let's go with inherent. Ang ibig sabihin ng inherent, class, ang karapatan ng tao ay nakadikit na sa kanya, 'di ba? Upon na sinilang siya sa mundo, ayun na yun. May karapatan na siya na. Meron na agad na hindi na pwedeng sabihin ng kahit na sinong tao, idikta, ando na yun eh. Paglabas mo, yun na yung karapatan mo, meron na. Kapag ang isang tao ay pinanganak, bit-bit niya na tong karapatan na to. At hindi na to pwedeng matanggal o mahiwalay sa kanya. That's inherent, okay? As for the Commission of Human Rights, sabi nila, for the inherent rights are those natural rights that form part of the person's legal personality from the moment of his birth. Rights to life, liberty, and dignity, and self-development. These can neither be transferred nor sold in any matter to another person. This means that they are not inalienable and should not be denied to any person. That's inherent. Upon your birth, nakadikit na sa'yo. Let's go with this. Inalienable. According to the America's Declaration of Interdependence, sabi dito that no person can be deprived any person these rights, and no person can be repudiate these rights by himself. It also means that these rights cannot be the subject of the comments of the man. So, pag sinabi ganito, hindi pwedeng tanggalin sa'yo. You cannot be deprived by these rights. Pag universal naman, opo tay. Oh my gosh, nagre-record ako.
Ulit ka.
Okay lang. Sige, sorry. Universal rights. Sorry na. At least alam niyo na tao yung nag-lecture, di ba? Hindi AI. So, let's go. Universal. Pag sinabing universal, it means that ang mga karapatan na to ay nabebelong sa human being without prejudice kung ano man siyang klaseng, saan man siya galing, ano mang kulay, ano mang kasarian, ano mang culture, ano mang katayuan, mayaman ba, mahirap ba, maputi ba, maitim ba, ano ba, matangkad ba, ano ba, foreigner ba, Pilipino, pumunta man siya sa ganitong lugar, universal ang human rights. That's it. So, sa components naman tayo ng human rights, tapos sa classification, sa kind, kung ano. Let's go for the components ng human rights. Components ng human rights: a subject or a right holder, a duty holder, an object, and implementation. That's the 4 components. So let's go with the first component. A subject or a right holder. A subject or right holder is an individual. Natural person, a natural person. Kasi we have 2 kinds of person. Natural person, yung tao mismo, di ba? Pag juridical person, we have the corporation, partnership, etc. So, subject or right holder, tao ha, either grupo ng individual o basta hindi non-government organization ay entitled sa karapatan sa ilalim ng batas and gonna take legal action to protect or to promote his rights. That's subject or right holder. A duty holder. So, ito na. Sino ba ang duty holder natin? Is an entity. Normally, yung estado, yung gobyerno, na he is obliged. Siya ay may obligasyong rumispeto at masiguro niya naman na puprotektahan ng lahat ng karapatan ng mga tao at yung mga demand nila. So, in human rights, ang gobyerno ay kinukonsider na duty holder rather than subject. Through international law, the rules of states are considered as recognized as incontestable. Grabe ang haba, no? So, tayo to ha, subject or right holder. A duty holder, gobyerno. Object, gosh, ano object? An object is the content of any given right and any duty of the holder of the rights and the duty of the obligation. The right and this duty are human values and needs which are founding human rights rules and norms. Ha? Daw? So, an object is the content of any given rights and duty of the holder. So, sino bang holder natin? We have the right holder, tao at ang gobyerno, di ba? So, ito yung mismong contention mo ng kahit na anong binibigay o anumang karapatan ng meron. Ito yung contention at yung responsibilidad ng isang holder ng batas. Kasi may karapatan siya. That's the object. Implementation na, no? Ito ba yung pag-i-implementa, ma'am? Yung parang pinapalawak mo siya, parang sinasabi mo siya, iba? Ina-implement mo? Tingnan natin. The implementation is a set measures, approaches, initiative designed to realize the right concern. This includes the law, administrative measures, legal writs, and mechanism adopted by the 3 branches of the government: Congress, Executive, and Judiciary. No, parang ikaw bilang you're the government itself, you have the duty for implementation of the rights. So that's why, dahil you're the government, legislative, we should make laws para ma-implement to, di ba? For the judiciary, we should penalize those who are the violators of the human rights. And sa executive branch is i-execute natin ng maayos ang karapatan ng mga tao. That's the implementation. So, let's go with the example right here. Note, ang example as example, subject or right holder and the object of content of the human rights can be found in Article 3, Section 12 of the 1987 Constitution. Ito yung section ng Miranda Rights class Any person under under investigation for the commission of the offense shall have the right to inform of his right to remain silent and have the competent independent counsel, preferably of his own choice. These are many more in the article on the Bill of Rights and articles on social justice and human rights of the 1987. Implementation. So, stages naman. Grabe, no? Grabe naman, ma'am. Ang dami naman. So, let's go with the stages. May stages pala, no? Alamin natin. We have the first, the idealization. Second is the positivization and the realization. So, let's go with the first. Unang stage, idealization. Ito yung diba? Nagsimula sa idea yung karapatan natin, diba? Idealization means that a notion about the human rights have started in the realm of ideas. Parang pangarap lang, ideya lang, reflect lang ng consciousness mo na parang nararamdaman mo, dapat hindi ganito Parang mali to. Parang we're deserve more than this. Parang hindi tama. lalo yung sinauna, 'di ba? Hindi naman nung unang panahon hindi naman ganun ka lawak ang karapatan ng pantao, wala namang ganung hindi naman siya so much recognized actually, 'di ba? Napakaraming human rights violation right before. Talagang napaka-inhumane ng ginagawa nila sa mga tao. And syempre ikaw, let's say, kayo ay kinakalakal, binebenta para ipakasal sa ibang lalaki para sa lupa or ano, diba? The idea starts from we deserve more than this. Hindi ganito eh. Hindi dapat ganito yung trato sa atin. Na porket babae tayo, hindi tayo pwede sa gobyerno. Porket babae tayo, hindi tayo pwede mag-aral. Kasi noong unang panahon, hindi pwede mag-aral mga babae. Nakakulong lang, 'di ba? Kasi ang ginagawa ng babae, nagtatahe, nagluluto dahil yun lang ang kanilang obligasyon pagsilbihan ng kanilang asawang lalaki. Which is, 'di ba? Nagsimula sa ideya na sana balang araw, kung hindi man ngayon, sana hindi danasin to ng mga susunod na mga henerasyon na katulad ko na babae. Sana dumating ang panahon na makakita tayo ng babaeng nakaupo sa seat ng gobyerno, and which is happening right now. Nakakatuwa, di ba? Napaka-recognize na ng babae na hindi lang sila basta pambahay lang. Actually, di ba? May mga presidents na tayo na babae and nasa different nasa ngayon ng gobyerno at talagang napakagagaling. Yeah. So let's go. We're done with idealization. Let's go for this positivization. Ito yung second stage ng karapatan ng human rights wherein support for the ideas becomes so strong and the stage is set to incorporate them in the legal instrument, whether domestic or international law. So, nagsimula sa ideya hanggang sa lumakas na yung pakiramdam nila na hindi dapat ang karapatan natin ay manatili lamang na ideya o manatili lamang na pangarap. Kailangan natin kumilos para mangyari na magkaroon tayo ng karapatan in any ways. So that's the way na gumagawa sila ng legal instrument, 'di ba? They can just appeal in international court, or they can file bills para katulad ng mga bata, di ba, kinakasal, minor de 11, kinakasal sa 40, sa 50, and sabi kasi, hindi natin masaway before kasi daw culture nila yon. And then they have the autonomous eme on the rest, and then, di ba, nagsimula sa idea, and then, nagkaroon ng sobrang, sobra na to eh. Kailangan na natin kumilos, and then, di ba, hanggang sa naging batas na siya. That's the positivization. The realization na, di ba? Ito na yung last stage wherein, ito na yung enjoy natin ngayon. Although, hindi man natin na-enjoy ngayon dahil baka may mga eras pa na walang karapatan, then the cycle will going to repeat itself. The realization, ito na yung last stage wherein, na-enjoy na natin yung karapatan na yun, di ba? Yung age of consent, di ba? Tumaas na. Dati, 12 years old lang, pababa ang consider na rape, diba? Pero ngayon, diba? Ganon. Na-enjoy na natin ngayon na wala na tayong nababalita ang 12 anyos, yung iiyak sa TikTok. 12 anyos, papakasa sa matanda, diba? So, ito na-enjoy natin ngayon. And it transformation of social, economic, political order. Parang fairy tale ang human rights. Nakakatuwa. So, yeah, let's go with the sources na. Sa mga sources na tayo. Nako, ma'am, grabe naman. So, saan to galing? Actually, maraming pinanggalingan to kasi marami ng movement and stands for this. The first one is the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Ito na yung basic source ng human rights, Yung 1948. Actually, I've also recording with this one. That has profoundly shaped and influenced local international landscape. Actually, this is a calling for everybody around the globe kasi not all of the state been recognizing the right of the human. It's after the World War II, diba? Nung World War II, it's the time of barbaric wherein talagang talamak ang violation ng human rights. Sobra talaga. Kinakalakal pa nga yung, diba, noon parang Parang sinasabi na parang kasalanan ba na maging Aprikano kami o itim yung balat namin kasi they are the one who's subject for the trade of slave. Binabiyahe sila and then para silang mga hayop na may mga nakasakal sa leeg tapos nakatali sa kamay sa paa. Para silang gamit. Para siya ng shuttle na binabiyahe na lang. Kasi slaves. Diba? Pero ngayon wala nang ganon. Dahil hindi mo naman kailangan na maging ganito, na maging maputi para lang magkaroon ka ng karapatan. Kaya as we have right now, compare naman sa dati, diba? Nakakatuwa na there's a drastic change. Pero it all started with here. Itong Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it has 30 articles. Kaya sinasabi ko sa student ko, you have to not at least just to memorize it, but you have to understand it. Kasi it's the first and the significant calling among other countries around the globe. Then, this one. One Filipino who figured prominently in the drafting of the declaration was Carlos P. Romulo, who served the president of the fourth session of UN General Assembly from 1949 to 1950, and author Morisek is correct that there is today not a single nation, culture, or people that is not on the way of another eminent human rights regimes. So, actually, this human rights, ito yung naging parang basihan ng mga different international convention natin right now and treaties and stipulations about human rights. Ito yung pinakauna, parang ito yung pinakabasehan. Ito yung pinaka-Bible. Kaya pag napapansin nyo, may mga laws and articles na halos magkaka-same dito. Not just here, but not only in our Bill of Rights, but in other international laws. So ito yung pinaka-Bible, ito yung pinaka-una at pinagbasehan. Let's go with 1987 Constitution, my favorite. Ang Biblia natin. Sa Pilipinas, ang basic source ng human rights ay yung 1987 Constitution, di ba? Na tinatawag natin Human Rights Constitution because it's many of these articles are for human rights and human rights related provision na mapafound mo hindi lang sa Article 3 but halos sa lahat ng articles ng 1987 Constitution. Ito ay mayaman sa mga human rights contents. Talagang ito ay promotekta talaga. Kasi we have to accept the given fact na ang gobyerno ay napakalakas. So, kailangan natin gumawa ng isang batas na kung saan magiging perfect na siya para hindi tayo, alam mo yun, parang maapi o masasaktan o ma-violate ng gobyerno. Kasi malakas ang gobyerno. And because we have Article 3, yeah. It is we have the vast improvement. The previous Philippine Constitution kasi is the 1897 Biak na Bato Constitution or the 1899 Malolos Constitution. We also have 1935 Constitution, the 1943 Constitution, the 1970 Constitution, and 1986 Freedom Constitution. So, ito yung pinaka-improved, no? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, among other na constitution, ito na yung perfect crafting natin. Kaya, for those, there are among students that I've been seeing in Google and in Facebook that there are pro with the CHACHA or the charter change. Or, yeah, they have the advocate to change our government into federal system of government. I don't know if you're one of the students right there na you're pabor with that, but personally, in my own personal opinion, no, I'm not persuading you to be in the same disposition as mine, but on my stand, para sa akin perfect na ang 1987 Constitution. Sinasabi kasi na ang kodesyo kasi na corrupt, kaya tayo corrupt kaya tayo mahirap kasi but for me, this is the perfect crafting kasi government was so strong na baka makapangyarihan ng gobyerno. And alam mo yun, dahil sa ganda ng pagkakagawa ng constitution, kahit saan lumusot yung gobyerno, diba? Parang kahit anong gawin nila sa atin, laging may provision na poprotekta pa rin sa atin. It's about the check and balances. That's why, kung meron pong igaganda, diba, ang 1987, pero for me, it's the perfect one. And I'm not into pro for the cha-cha. 1987 Constitution, human dignity plays a special part of provision of one of the preamble in 1987 Constitution. Diba? The preamble is the prayer. Dasal yan. The state values of dignity of every human and guarantees full respect of human rights. Actually, dasal yung preamble. Kasi, one of the framers of the Constitution admitting to themselves na hindi naman to perfect. It's just a book. It's just a Constitution. But, we, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God. Diba? You're just asking for the God na, Lord, kung ano man yung kulang dito sa ginawa namin for the protection of the people, sana kayo na yung pumuna. No, that's the preamble. It's a prayer. A novel feature of 1987 Constitution is independent constitutional office called. We have the independent constitutional office that we have, and it's called the Commission of Human Rights. Diba? Kaya dapat alam natin ang composition nito. One of the first national human rights commission in the world. Two of its important function under Section 18 and Section 18 under Article 13 of the 1987 Constitution are to investigate human rights violations, civil political rights, independently committed by government, by non-governmental entities, and to establish a program, education, information to enhance respect for the primary of human beings. Actually, they're also offering courses for human rights, and yeah, I've been taking it right now. Yeah, yes. Let's go with the history. So, alam nyo, class, malaga na dapat alam natin yung history. Sinasabi na, ba't pinara ba yung history? Yung mga meron kasi dati pa yan, di na mahalaga ngayon. No. History is so important. Kasi, if we know the history, we tend not to repeat it again. Kasi alam na natin yung nangyari before. Kapag alam mo na yung nangyari before, either mali yan o tama, maiiwasan mo na siya eh. Kasi, itakte, ito yung nangyari dati uulit na naman. So, we tend not to repeat it again. Kung mali yan o kung ano may nangyari doon, dapat alam natin ang history. And also, it serves as a basis for development, diba? For development of the rights. So, we have to know the history. So, let's go first with the Cyrus the Great. Siya yung hari ng Persia na pinalaya niya yung mga alipin sa Babylon noong 539 before Christ. No? Grabe, no? Kasi nung panahon na yun, talagang ang slave is slave. Pero siya, Cyrus the Great, hari ng Persia, ay pinalabas niya ang mga alipin. Noong 539 before Christ, ang armies ni Cyrus the Great, ang unang hari ng ancient Persia, ay sinakop ang city ng Babylon. But, it was his action that marked a major advance for man. Biruin mo, nung sinakop niya yung Babylon, ang ginawa niya sa Babylon, pinalaya niya yung mga alipin doon. Grabe na para siyang fairy tale. So, mark a major advance for man. He freed the slave, declared that all of the people had the right to choose their own religion, and established a racial equality. And these other decrees were recorded in the baked clay cylinder in the Akkadian language with cuneiform script. Diba? Ang ganda. Known today, yan yung tinatawag nating Cyrus cylinder class. This ancient record has now been recognized as the world's first charter of human rights. It's translated into 6 official languages of the United Nations, and its provision parallel the first 4 article of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So, yung first 4 articles ng Universal Declaration of Rights, alam niyo saan galing? Kay Cyrus the Great. So, from the Babylon, ang ideya ng human rights ay kumalat na, no? Nang mabilisan sa India na, may human rights pala. So, dapat pala itong mga alipin na to, hindi pala to alipin, tao pala to. So, may karapatan pala sila. So, di nila alam yung idea na yun before. Grabe, no? It quickly spread to India, Greece, and eventually sa Roma. And this is the concept of natural law that aroused and the observation of the fact that ang tao ay sumusunod sa mga batas na hindi naman nakasulat. Kasi natural law yun eh. Pag ang panganak mo sa'yo, may karapatan ka na yan. So, hindi na yan dapat na sabihin mo ta, bakit? Bakit papalayain yung mga alipin? Sino ba nag-utos? Saan nakasulat? Diba? That's they said na may natural law kasi tayo. No? Binigay ng Diyos yung karapatan na yan. So, document asserting individual rights such as the Magna Carta 1215, Petition Rights 1628, U.S. Constitution 1787, the French Declaration of Rights of Man and the Citizen 1789, and the U.S. Bill of Rights 1791 are written precursors to many of the body's human rights documents. So, thank you for listening. Any question? So, sure, obvious namang wala. So, thank you so much.